Hey, this is Derek Triplett. Let's talk about conflict resolution, especially with your loved ones. I'm talking about your mom, your dad, your husband, your wife, your siblings. Man, a lot of hurt can happen when you don't handle conflict resolution very well. Here's the one key, just one thing I want you to keep in mind. Make the relationship more important than the issue. The issue can hurt, the issue can be frustrating, the issue can be wrong, but guess what? The relationship is more important. So when you are in conflict with a loved one, always let the relationship supersede the issue. It's real simple. Relationship over issue, relationship over issue, relationship over issue. I'm Derek Triplett. Why are so many people hurting so badly? Make the relationship more important than the issue. Do you add value to the person that you're connecting with? My name is Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships. And guess what? It gets better from here. Welcome to Better Relationships. My name is Derek Triplett. I want you to think about your family, the dark side of your family, the people who don't speak, those broken relationships, those long-running feuds. There's been deep hurt, injury, you name it. But this show is not about what tears families apart. This show is about how families come back together. I want you to meet an incredible mother and son. Their story is crazy. They are both ex-convicts. As a matter of fact, there was one period they were in jail at the same time. But if you could see them now, you're going to see them now. Such renewal, such reconciliation. I want you to hear their story. That's what's coming up next on Better Relationships with Derek Triplett.
It was the feud in my family. It was a case of infidelity, and it caused a lot of chaos to the point of physical fighting.
The feud in my family was when my sister and I disagreed on the care that my oldest sister should have gotten before she passed. And we are still working on rebuilding that relationship.
Today we're talking about family reconciliation, and I want you to meet two incredible people, Mr. Demetrius Bradley,
Thank you, sir.
Ms. Lisa Pilgrim. You all, your story trips me out, so I want to just get straight into it. You're from Ohio.
Yes.
But you were raised by your grandmother.
Yes, sir.
Tell me about that.
So just a young guy that was raised with his grandma from a childhood. Just a little bit. That was pretty much
Really? Why did he have to be
it all
raised by
falls
his
in place.
grandmother, Ms. Lisa?
Well, I made some bad choices.
Okay.
In my life, I went to prison,
Okay.
and I went to prison for 4 years.
Not to jail,
No,
prison.
prison.
Okay.
I did 4 years in Marysville, Ohio, and during that time, of course, my mother and my dad took care of him.
Okay.
They had to. They didn't have to,
Right.
but they did. That was the beginning of how our family, stayed together.
And that's what families do. And your family is a significant family in Ohio. You're repping the Wilberforce University
Yeah, I
t-shirt.
had
Tell
to
me
do
about
that.
Wilberforce and your family.
My great-grandfather has a building named after him at Central State University,
Okay.
which is right there
Right,
where
Wilberforce is.
He was the CFO back in the day.
Okay.
And so it started there, and then my grandmother and my grandfather met at Wilberforce,
Wow.
and my son went to Central State, my sister went to Central State, and I went to Wilberforce.
So you've got a situation, you've got a family member, a building named after him at Central State.
Yes.
But yet you're in prison.
Yes.
And you're being raised by your what did that do for your relationship with your mom? How did you view your mom while she's in prison and you're being raised not just by your grandmother, but at some point going from house to house?
Actually, my vision of her never changed because it was just a lifestyle that we were living, you know. So it was more of it wasn't like we knew anything else. Like we didn't know it was bad.
So it's just a family business.
It's just a family business, you know. Regardless if it was my mom's side or my dad's side, it was like that was our comfort zone. To where that's just what it was, you know. From using to kids being raised by their grandparents, parents are in jail or using or dead or anything.
So you got users, you got dealers, and then you got people with college degrees. I mean, y'all got a lot going on with that. Now, there was a time that because it was a family business, you grew up, you got into quote unquote the family business.
Was born in it.
You were born in it. You're in prison. You look up at television, and what happened?
So it was the 5 o'clock news at the prison, and I was just sitting there watching, and I heard it say a 15-year-old young man arrested in Springfield, Ohio, for having a gun at school. And so everything fit. 15-year-old Kiefer, school name, everything. I was like, you know what? I know who that is. I know who that is. And I said, somebody back that up and let's watch it at 5:30. And still, it was no name though.
Right.
And because he was a minor.
He was a minor.
So I knew it was him. For some reason, I called home. I said, now they had to, as soon as they answered the phone, they said it was him.
No hello, no nothing.
No hello,
it was him. We know why you calling.
You passed out on the floor for a good reason, you know, because it was him. And it was just so, like, that was overwhelming to know that he would be in the same situation as me. You know, I beat myself up for that, and man, I just didn't want that life for him.
Right.
You know what I mean? It was so it was bad for me.
So you go through that, you get yourself together, you end up getting a college degree.
Yes.
How?
Oh man, that was crazy. So long story short, after I was kicked out the whole Ohio school district, the school system.
So you can't go to high school anywhere
in Ohio.
In Ohio. The state of Ohio.
The state.
Okay. But how did you end up getting a college degree anyway?
My grandma said I couldn't get out of jail till I got my GED.
Okay.
So after, I did my sentence, I ended up spending like 3-4 extra months because I failed my GED the first time, and she was like, so? You're not getting out.
You can get out when you bring me a GED.
Once I complete my sentence and get my GED, I can be released.
Okay.
So I end up staying a couple extra months because I didn't have my GED.
And you knew she was serious.
What?
You knew she was
playing.
Okay.
I'd have stayed in there for life.
And you got out, and how'd you end up in college?
She asked me, what do I think about college, actually? She was like, what do you think about going to college? So I said, well, I'm not college material. I got an 8th grade education. I've been in so much trouble. Like, I'm not a college boy. That's somebody else. I don't know that guy. She was like, well, I don't know what else you're gonna do. She was like, try it. If you do it for me, if you don't do it for yourself.
Wow.
And she was like, if you try it and you like it, stay. If you try it and don't like it, quit. But then at the same time, she always knew that I finished what I started. So it was more of a...
She knew her boy.
She knew her boy.
She knew her boy.
She knew I wouldn't quit even if I didn't like it because I started it. So I got to complete it. So 5 years later, I ended up with a bachelor's degree.
Wow.
Yep.
And so now you sit here with a master's degree as well.
I sit here with a master's degree as well, off of 8th grade education.
Wow. We're going to come back in just a minute, but I want to talk about the fact that he's not the only one who's gotten their education. We're going to talk about your education. We'll be right back on Better Relationships. Let's go to the Better Relationships Q&A corner. Here's a question from Maya from Boston, Massachusetts. What's the best relationship advice you've ever been given? That one's pretty easy. One of my friends, Michelle McKinney-Hammond, said to me in a phone call one time, I was working on a message about relationships and I wanted a quote from her. She said, Derek, tell everybody that relationships are work. It's the best advice I've ever gotten. whatever relationship you're in, whether it's romantic, whether it is your family, whether it is your work relationship, it's going to be effort. You got to wake up every morning and clock in. In your romantic relationships, clock in every morning, but also have the type of relationship that you and your partner understands when you need to clock out. There are times that you've got to tend to the individual within the relationship. So sometimes I just need to clock out for an hour or two for some me time. Sometimes you may need to go away for the weekend, girls trip with the guys to just clock out, but clock right back in because every day you got to show up for work. In our family relationships, once everybody becomes an adult, it takes work. Siblings, parents, everything takes work. Why? Because everybody's an adult now. It's not like when you were all growing up in the same house and you were just told what to do by your parents. Everybody's doing their own thing right now. If you're going to have healthy relationships, if you're going to have satisfying relationships, you got to show up every day for work. Hi, this is Derek Triplett. I have a problem. I'm going to admit it right now. Part of my problem is that because of what I've been doing for the last 30 plus years, I tend to think and sometimes speak in alliterations. So I'm going to give you an alliteration today, but I think it'll help you. There are what I call some black eyes, the letter I, some black eyes that you need to stay away from in your relationship. Now, when you think about a regular black eye, when a person has a black eye, that means that an injury has taken place and there is swelling and blood under the skin, and it causes the skin to be darkened. There are eyes, black eyes in relationships that can injure and cause difficulty that ultimately everybody ends up seeing. So here are a few I want you to stay away from. Number one, I want you to stay away from interference. Interference. Be careful who you let in your relationship. It's critical. Family, friends, stay away from the interference. Number two, stay away from ignorance. You should not be ignorant to what's going on with your partner and who he or she is. Be knowledgeable about your partner. Here's the other one, insolence. Insolence is rude behavior. Listen, don't be mean. Don't be rude. It's unnecessary. It's so important to stay away from these three black eyes in your relationship. Interference, insolence, ignorance. Kill them in your relationship and things will go a lot better. Welcome back to Better Relationships. My name is Derek Triplett. Man, great conversation with Ms. Lisa, my man Demetrius. Before the break, we talked about you getting your education, and now you sit here now as a brother with a master's degree. Yes, you're doing phenomenal things in the community. But you, Ms. Lisa, said, I'm in this family. I got to get my education too. Tell me about your story.
So, up until 2014, I was the only one in the family that didn't have a degree. And
that don't work in your family.
Right. No, it didn't sit right.
Okay.
So, and in 2012, my mother suddenly passed away.
Okay.
And honestly, that was going to school and getting my degree was the only thing that was keeping me from just totally losing it.
Okay.
You know what I mean? From the sudden loss of my mother. And it kept me wanting to be a better person.
Okay.
And so because of my mom's death, and I wanted to have a degree and be part of the clique.
Okay.
I started the climb program at Wilberforce University. Mm-hmm. I had gotten some credits out of prison. So I used some of my credits from prison, some that I got before I went, put it together, ended up with what I needed.
Okay.
And went on through the program. I had tried it before.
Okay.
and didn't make it. So this was my second attempt at the degree.
So you went for your degree before.
Yes.
Didn't make it.
Yes.
Went back to prison.
Went to prison.
Came back out.
Yep.
And went back to school.
And went back to school.
Wow.
and I finished my accelerated, bachelor's degree program in 14 months. Graduated with my class, 3.7 average GPA.
Talk about it.
And it was a great experience, and I'm glad I did it. And
You said something. You said when your mom passed, because she was the matriarch of the family, then you became the matriarch of the family, and you said you couldn't be the matriarch of this family without a degree.
couldn't do it. Wouldn't stand.
Wow. Wow.
Wouldn't stand. You know, everybody on both sides, both sides graduated, with a degree.
Wow.
And a bachelor's or higher.
Listen, I appreciate you all telling your story today. I'm the first to say your story needs to be a movie. Your story needs to be the movie. This is incredible. Listen, families can't come back together. You just saw it. We'll be right back on Better Relationships. My name is Derek Triplett. Here's a question from Lisa from Dallas. I stopped speaking with my dad 10 years ago because he said something that was so painful and hurtful. I walked away from him. It's been 10 years. I've moved on, gotten married, and I have a 5-year-old. My 5-year-old is asking for grandpa and grandma, what's the best approach? Wow, Lisa, it's been 10 years. It's time. I wish I could tell you that you're going to feel better about it initially, but you won't. But the relationships have to matter more than the issue. Do it for yourself. Don't do it for your kids. Do it for yourself. You and your father need that reconciliation. Now, here's some of the things that can help you reconcile. Number one, admit that it hurts, which you have. But secondly, admit that everybody deserves forgiveness, especially your dad. Forgive. Decide that I want to forgive. Also, decide that the context in which the injury happened, you'll never be able to go back and erase it. Some people only are able to forgive if they're able to erase and eliminate what happened. You're not going to be able to erase it. It hurt you. You've got to overcome that and recognize that, guess what? It's worth it because that's your dad, and it's worth it because it's your child's grandfather. Get it done. It'll matter. You can do it. It may do a little bit to your ego at first, because a lot of times we hold out forgiving because we don't want the other person to feel like they got the best of us. Guess what? Throw away the issue. Concentrate on the relationship. Thanks, Lisa. Wow, what a compelling story. And there's so many other compelling stories all over the world of families getting it back together. I hope your family, whatever the situation is, whatever the fight is, whatever the dispute, I hope you love each other enough to decide to reconcile. If you're going to reconcile, you're going to have to heal. It doesn't happen the same way. Some people get healed, then they reconcile. Some people decide to reconcile and then they get healed. Whichever way it is, get it done. Let yourself heal, get help healing, but by all means, heal so you can put your family back together again. Listen, we're here, we'll be here for you, to give you tools to help put it back together again. I don't know about you, been there, had situations, family drama, family fights, but guess what? It doesn't have to remain that way. My name is Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships, and guess what? It gets better from here. My work is not possible without the support of a tremendous family. We are not a perfect family. We have our scars and our stains. But being a triplet is a great honor to me, and I take pride in it. I want to thank my wife, my children, my parents, and my brother and sisters for their support and their encouragement. I also have some close friends who really want to see me win. I want to thank them for helping to keep me going. Without them, I couldn't be here for you. You do know some of the things you were taught when you were a small kid aren't necessarily right. No shade to your mom, no shade to your dad, no shade to your grandparents or your teachers. But let me give you one. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Wrong. Words do hurt. And words can hurt in relationships. Matter of fact, words can lift your relationship. Words can destroy your relationships. Listen, everybody has a different sensitivity as it relates to how they like to be communicated with. So one of the things you need to do in relationships is to discuss how you prefer to be communicated with, how you like to be talked to, what's in bounds, what's out of bounds, because it's very, very important to know that angry words affect certain people differently than they affect others. So all I want you to do in your relationships, have a conversation about how you're going to converse. Have a conversation how you're going to be talked to when you get angry, how we talk to each other in conflict, because you can say some words that can cause injury to your relationship and never heal. You know those story, you squeeze the toothpaste out of the tube, and then you tell your child, I'll pay you $20 if you can get all of that toothpaste back in the tube. Guess what? They can't get it back. Once the words are out of your mouth, you can't take them back. So have a conversation about how you're going to converse and be sensitive to how someone else receives words. The words do matter. I'm Derek Triplett. This is Better Relationships. Here's a question from Jay. He's from New York. I'm 24 years old. Just found out that my girlfriend is pregnant. I don't know what to do. Can you help me? First of all, Jay, calm down. Calm down. Recognize that there are feelings of responsibility that you have never felt. There are feelings of fear that you have never felt in your life. The potential birth of a child changes a man's perspective. So what I want you to do is, first of all, calm yourself down. The second thing I need you to do is make a decision now that you're going to be there for your girlfriend and you're going to be there for the child. I need you to make the decision that you have the capacity to be not only financially there for them, but emotionally there for them. And also, the two of you have to talk about how you're going to tell your family, how you're going to present that. Then you've got to talk about, and this is the tough one, did you all plan to be a long-term couple? I don't know how long you've been dating, but here's what I do know, that a child should not be the reason two people stay together who weren't meant to be together in the first place. So I don't know your situation, but I will say that right now, you've got several things to think about. Do you have the emotional capacity? Do you have the financial capacity? And the answer to both of those questions is yes. You've got what it takes. You know why? Because you have to. Because the worst thing you can do right now, Jay, is say, I can't take it, I'm gonna walk away. Guess what? She doesn't get to walk away. So you gotta man up and do your thing. But then talk, the two of you, get through your emotions, get through your pain, get through your fear, get through your exuberance, and recognize that we've got to come up with a plan. We've got to come up with a plan for our relationship. We've got to come up with a plan for our child. We've got to come up with a financial plan. It's time to plan. I wish you the best.